Tell it to the young brother getting hassled by the cops. Tell it to the father who can't afford to get sick. Tell it to the sister thinking about turning tricks. And tell it to the single mother downsized on Christmas Eve while the CEO got a 20 mil bonus up his sleeve. Who be kidding? A world you live in where most folks never leave the class. They was given the whole concept of the American dreams about trading in your eggs to be on the rich team. But why can't your dream be to get rid of class with no one individual or group?
Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Laws, and I am a longtime human rights, women's rights, and civil rights activist in North Carolina. I am also a recent candidate for the North Carolina 4th Congressional District. Wow. All I can say is wow. This week has been mind-boggling and blowing in many regards. And then in other regards, it's simply been business as usual, right? Under this president we have a president who is the result of an outdated process of selecting the president for the United States. The Electoral College is outdated, and I'm a strong proponent for members of this Congress, the sitting Congress, before we reach 2020, advancing and rapidly pushing forward any type of legislation that can dismantle the Electoral College. We know that Hillary Clinton won the majority of the votes, and really, in all honesty, should be president. And I say that she should be based on the votes. But I'm also very much cognizant of the fact that given the two candidates, many people chose not to show up to vote in places that we expected them to. Iowa, one, she didn't go into Iowa strong, took a lot for granted. I'm not going to rehash what happened in 2016. What I do want to say is that when we choose not to go and exercise our right to vote, and exercise the sacred right that so many people right now are sitting and pushing forward through legislation in state general assemblies to try and undermine and to block and suppress the vote, access to the ballot and voting rights for many people, especially people of color, especially young people, especially poor people. We should, as Reverend Dr. William Barber has always said, we should be mindful that those actions are not simply just happening. They are happening because people understand the value and the power of the vote. And so for those who continue to say that I'm not going to vote because my vote doesn't count, well, it won't count if you don't go. And how are you measuring whether or not it counts, right? So how are you assessing the value of your vote? I can tell you this, that if we cannot endure another 4 years of Donald Trump, we can't endure really another 6 years of him, if you count the 2 that he has left remaining in this term. I know people are frustrated. I am frustrated with both parties, including my own, which currently is the Democratic Party. I don't think they have a strong and solid bench that can assure us that many of the issues that many people like me who are advocates on the social justice front, who are women's rights advocates, and workers' rights, we have no more confidence in the Democratic Party really at this point than we do of some of the Republicans. But I can say that historically, if we look at the party that has been pro-women, pro-workers, it has been the Democratic Party, even if it's been through lip service. There have been policies that have been put forth by the Democratic Party, advanced and passed, that have benefited workers. But I believe, as many people do that I've spoken to as I was campaigning, that the Democratic Party in a lot of ways has a problem with the messengers. It's not that they don't stand for the right things, and stand for social justice, stand for women's rights, workers' rights, LGBTQ, and immigrant rights, protecting them. It's not that Democrats were not just as appalled as many of us were with the the caging of children who were taken from their parents at our southern border. But what we do know that Donald Trump is winning in the message game. And if the Democrats don't get the message right, and not only if they don't get the message right, but if they don't get the messengers, those that they're sending out to the forefront to make the case for the Democratic Party, we're going to be back in the same place that we are in right now. The Republicans have created such the perfect setup for them to win. If you look at gerrymandering that's taken place across this country, if you look at how they have co-opted many people in the media, and how they have hijacked, I won't say co-opted, how they've hijacked the media, and how it's Donald Trump's message that we continue to hear and that we're continuing to debate and we're continuing to discuss. Unless the Democrats come stronger than what they have been doing in the past, all of us are appalled at Donald Trump. So don't send us messengers that are simply going to tell us what we already know, that he is despicable, that he is doing work that undermines the core tenets and values of the United States Constitution. We get that. Don't send us messages that, he's in cahoots with or in bed with Putin. That was clear from the very beginning, even before he became president. And yes, of course, Putin has something on him. I say that the answer is in the tax returns. I say that the answer to what Putin has over him is in his business dealings. We get that. That's not the message. We don't need an echo chamber. We need people who are coming strong with policy messages, with strategies that's going to mobilize not the Democratic base, which is small. It's just as small as the Republican base, if we're honest about it. But that's going to mobilize and encourage and inspire those who now are identified as unaffiliated voters to vote on our team. Those are the people that we need to be focusing on. I said this, and I didn't just say it because I didn't win in my primary. It's easy to play kingmakers within your own party when you have an advantage. When you have an advantage of the money, when you have an advantage of the access to forums and opportunities to reach the public in mass. It's easy to win. It's easy to win. It's easy to make sure that your candidate wins. And with the exception of New York, oftentimes that's the long-time incumbent. People are used to them, they see them, and they trust that they are doing the job that they were sent there to do. But as I found out doing research during my campaign, that's not always the case. Not meaning that these are, mean-spirited people or people who don't care about the constituents. Some of them have been lazy, and they've been lazy because they have almost been guaranteed shoo-ins in their competitions in primaries, if they've had primaries at all. And so the Democratic Party, I think, is, drunk off of its own Kool-Aid in a lot of ways. It thinks because, it can turn out the base during primaries, and not very largely so, right? So there was, about 14% of the people voted in my primary, and I'm sure those numbers reflect many primaries around the country. So, it's easy to win and keep your same people in place during a primary. But the question that the Democratic Party must be asking now, and especially in North Carolina, do we have what it takes? Do we have a strong enough bench? And do we have a strong enough and compelling enough message to win in the November election? Donald Trump is going to continue to be a wrecking ball in our country, tearing down as much of the core tenets and values that many people fought hard to set in place and in motion. That's a given. He's going to continue to do deplorable and despicable things to hurt women and children, and to disregard the poor and to take advantage of the poor in his base, because he appeals to their deepest and darkest fears and worries. And those deep, dark fears and worries are the same that they were back during Jim Crow. It's appealing to their fears that blacks are coming and taking their jobs and getting into position, and they're being sacrificed and their children are being sacrificed. It's the appeal that immigrants are coming and taking their jobs, and now there's too many and they're sucking from the public system's resources that could go to them. He's appealing to that. It's nothing new. It's a different player, but it's the same playbook. He's also appealing with this relationship with Putin. Putin has an Aryan appearance. So this Aryan white nationalism, of course they're going to stand behind him as he supports and protects Putin. Because Putin appeals to their darkest angels of an Aryan nation. And so to simply attack President Trump on the basis of what we believe is good international affairs and what makes sense doesn't resonate with them in any kind of way. And in fact, what it does is it draws the wagons around him to protect him more. And so so I think let Mueller's investigation continue to play out without the Dems coming so hard and continuing to highlight that, because the more we do that, the more we bring attention to the fact that the investigation is still underway, the more Trump's base gets riled up. And they have been more sophisticated, they meaning the Republicans, and skilled at capitalizing on the emotions and appealing to the deep fears of their base than the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is out of their league when they even try to play at that level. And so I say, let's have messengers out front representing the Democratic Party's platform, the Green Party platform, because now the Green Party exists in North Carolina. Let this be healthy and spirited debates that we are seeing, and congregations of people that are just not hardcore, die-hard party loyalists. We will not win that way. And that's my 2 cents on what's been going on this week.
And they tell us ain't no class war. Tell that to the working poor. Tell it to the dreary-eyed souls on the assembly line. Tell it to those working mandatory overtime. Tell it to the post-live juggling 3 jobs, walking home late at night worrying about getting robbed. Tell it to the immigrants on their way to do the jobs that they tell us that we just won't do. Tell it to the kids raised up to be dummies, cause they wasn't born in school districts with money. Tell it to the sweatshop girl with tears down